Let's rock and roll. Okay, the point where we're at right now is you click private message on another member's profile, and if you forget something, there's error messages that pop up. But once you submit, let's just put testing, press submit, a little loader pops up, and then message sent successfully. So that's where we are right now. Now since Alex is receiving some messages, we gotta build a page to where he can read his messages, view them, and reply to them. So on the inbox page that we're gonna build right now, we're gonna embed the reply form onto that page. That way he can reply to any one of the messages that are in his inbox. And the inbox will also allow deletion of all the messages that he wants to delete. So since I need a page to serve as the inbox, I'm going to open the index file for the site. I'm going to use this page's layout. Let's save this. Go to File, Save As. Let's make a new page within our system called PM_inbox. PM inbox, save. Now all we have to do, I'm going to go inside and strip out all of the PHP on top. But you can have active links in your message if you want by using this class on the actual message variable. But I don't think I'm going to do that, so I'm going to comment that out. Now in the design, you can use any page you want really, but I'm just going to start zapping stuff out of here. This thing, I don't want that. I think I do want that one gray box, I'll keep that. This div, I don't want that. This one, I don't want that div. Bye bye. This div, I don't want that either. That's the one that was holding the blabs. So now you can see all I have is that one ting ting. And I think I'm going to leave all those ads like that on the side there. You can choose to put whatever you want on this page really. But you want to have a decent wide enough section to hold all of the inbox messages along with the checkbox on the side and all that stuff, so you can show the person's name who sent the message here, the subject of the message here, and the date that it was sent here. So now I think our page is set up well enough to be the inbox. Okay, we've got our inbox all built from the index.php page we took and turned it into the PM_inbox page. And you can see this inbox. I'm going to demonstrate it to you right now, and it's very complete, and I kind of modeled it off of YouTube's commenting and inbox style. Here, I'll try to explain to you what the code is doing as I'm clicking things. So first of all, we're digging through all of this person's private messages, which happens to be me, and I have 3 so far, so that's all that's showing. And all that's really missing in this script and all that's left to put in is pagination. And since I did pagination tutorial already, I'm going to refine the pagination a little bit that I created already. I'm going to add it to this. That way we're only showing maybe 10 per page. But I'm not going to do that on video. I'm going to do that on my own since I already did pagination tutorial. Most of you guys should understand how to set up your pagination. And if you don't have any clue how I set it up for this, go into the source code and really dig through it. If you have any questions that are pressing, you can go into the forums of Develop PHP and ask a question, or wait till the forums are up at Web Intersect when we build them. Okay, so first of all, for allowing people to delete their messages, they can click these checkboxes. So if they wanted to delete just those top 2 messages, they would press delete right now and those would go away. They can delete them all at once by clicking this little from checkbox here. And we're using JavaScript to accomplish that, to auto check all of the checkbox on the page using this one central checkbox. We're using JavaScript to do that, and I'll show you exactly where that's happening in the code. And what's next? We also have, now the subject line is where when they click the subject, the body of the message is going to slide down and expose the body data for that message. So let me show you what I mean. And take note that when I click this subject line, it's going to go from bolded black to an unbold gray, just like YouTube does it, where before you click the message and read it, it's really bold in the subject line, and after you have read it and you close it up, you'll see that it's not bolded anymore. We did the same thing here. We're using JavaScript for that. Actually, we're using jQuery to change the class rule that's on this subject line. So watch me click it here. You see that? The subject is gray now, and it's not bold anymore. It's not bold black. and then here is the body of the message. Keep up the great work. Very nice. Now say I want to reply to Miles. I just click this, and a nice jQuery window opens up again. I can close it right here. Say I want to reply to him. Say thanks. Will do. Send reply to Miles. You see the little loader there for a second. Message sent successfully, and you can be sure that it went sunk into your database just fine. And we also made it to where when you click your other messages, any that happen to be open will close automatically. You see that? And that's how it works. It's pretty nifty. Like I said, if I want to remove these from my box, I can just delete them like that. If I select them all, I don't want them all. Maybe I want to keep that one. Delete those two. Those two are gone from my inbox. Okay, now I'm going to walk you through the code of that pm_inbox.php page. So the first thing we do is include once the scripts check user log. Then we check here to see. You see this is a PHP block. Let me get this down a little bit. This PHP block right here is independent, and what that's doing is checking to see if the session IDX variable is not set. We echo this out and we exit script. If it is set, we continue on to this code. Right here we decode the session IDX variable and extract the user's ID from it. That's what these 4 lines are doing. Actually, these 3 lines. Then we establish the interaction token here, and what this will do is help with spam a little bit. So we're adding that as well for each interaction. Then this next PHP block here that's independent is mailbox parsing for deleting inbox messages. So all we're saying is if is set post delete button from the form, and I'll show you the form in just a second. So basically all the messages that are showing on the page are wrapped in one form. So that way you can have all of the checkboxes all compiled into one form when people want to delete things. This variable is not necessary. Alright, so this is a little bit tricky. What's happening is here we're saying for each posted variable, that means if somebody clicks 6 of those checkboxes and they want to delete 6 of those items out of their inbox, all 6 of those are going to be posted through that form to this script. So we're picking each of them up. So for each, post as key value the name of it and the value it contains. So then we URL encode and strip slashes on the value. Right here we're checking to see if the key is not the delete button. So if the key is not delete button, we can then update the private messages to not show in this person's list anymore. It doesn't actually get deleted here, but it doesn't show in that person's list anymore. Right under here, if you wanted to add a little check to see if the person who sent the message also deleted it from their sent box, then you can wipe it out of the system. But since I'm only archiving 100 messages maximum for each user, I'm not even going to worry about deleting it at this point. But maybe right here I'll put a little code comment. Check to see if sender also removed from sent box, then it is safe to remove completely from system. Make sense? Good. Alright. After they delete all the ones they want to delete that are in their box, we just run the header location pminbox.php, which will actually just refresh this page. And if they were to hit refresh, it won't process that form again. So that's why we're using header there. We're just basically refreshing the page for them, showing them the page new again with the items that they chose to delete removed from their inbox. Okay, now we have the doc type, all the regular stuff for your web page. In the head of the document we have JavaScript, and I have it all bundled up here, but there's a pretty good bit of JavaScript going on right there. Then we have some styling going on using CSS, and there's not much of that. You can see there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. So first, before I discuss the JavaScript with you that really controls the forms and everything and the CSS, let's take a look at the HTML output that we're using PHP and MySQL to gather from the database in a loop. Let's press Design View, and you can see the way I set things up. You can actually see and design in Design View because the query is here. If I click this PHP block here, you'll see I have a query here that select all from private messages where toID equals my ID and recipient delete equals 0. That means they haven't deleted it from their box. If recipient delete equals 0, they haven't deleted it from their inbox yet. So we're going to display it. So there's the query. Now there's a while loop. You see this while loop here? This while loop runs, and this table is being output within the while loop. So for however many messages we want to put per page, that's how many are going to come out in the loop. And right here, we close the main while loop. And you might have never seen PHP structured like this before, but I'll show you what it's like. Where we close the while loop, it's in an independent PHP block. In between the opening and closing curly braces for the while loop, you can see I'm closing off the PHP block, and I'm not echoing out. I'm actually rendering raw HTML right in between that while loop. I hope that makes some sense, because I really can't explain it any clearer than that. Within the while loop, instead of echoing out straight PHP, I'm closing off the PHP block and I'm just rendering raw HTML, which you can see right here. This little table will get rendered out for however many messages they have. Like I said, we'll put pagination into this system soon enough. Alrighty, now, form that is the reply box is sitting down here, all outside of that while loop and below it. That way it doesn't render so many times, it just renders once. So right here I put a nice comment for you. Start hidden container that holds the reply form. End hidden container that holds the reply form. So you can see in this div, there's your reply form. And guess what? It's just like the private message form that we initially created that's on the actual profiles. It does the exact same thing, and it sends to the exact same script, and the JavaScript and Ajax that's happening with this form is exactly the same way that we set it up on the profile.php page. The only difference in this one is we have PM final div here. Instead of interaction results div like we have on the profile page, we have a PM final, which is the thing that you saw when I demoed just a few minutes ago, where it showed the little message sent successfully in a little black box after they click submit. That's what this is for. Okay, and you can see here, I put a code comment in, start the PM form and display list. So this is that form I was talking about that has the delete button, the universal delete button in it, and all the little checkboxes get placed in the while loop. And then we end the PM form and display list here. If you guys have any questions about these scripts or what they do, don't feel ashamed to go into a forum like Develop PHP's forum or Web Intersect forum whenever I build it in, and ask questions if you feel lost with this code a little bit. Now I'm going to explain the JavaScript and a little bit of the CSS, and then we're done here. And the only thing I'm going to do after this is make another page that's called PM sent box, and then that one's going to only show their sent messages, and they're not going to have all the cool stuff going on that page, like making the subject line not bold anymore. All we'll give them is basically the ability to delete things that are in their sent box. They won't be able to reply to anything in there because those are messages they sent. They can't reply to themselves. That doesn't make any sense. So there's no need to put the reply form, no need to put the reply button at the bottom of every message. There's no need to make the subject line unbold anymore after they read the message, because they already read the message because they wrote the message. So a lot of that stuff is not going to be necessary, but it's basically going to be a carbon copy of this file, and I'm not going to be discussing it on video. It'll be a carbon copy of this file with a lot less functionality, a lot more simple basically. Okay, I'm going to fly through this JavaScript here because I feel like I'm losing a lot of you guys, and maybe your attention span is growing dim from me just talking about all this code and this uber geeky crap. But I feel like some of you guys might really want an in-depth discussion about how this stuff works. So I'm going to explain this JavaScript to you right now, but I'm not going to go super in-depth. Right here, this function, this controls toggling all checks, all the checkboxes. So when you hit that main universal checkbox on top, it's going to check all of the boxes for you. That's what this function covers. If you have any questions about it, hit the forums. Now here we say document ready function. That just means that when the document object model is fully loaded. Remember, when I click a subject line, it opens up the body so I can read it. That's what this does. It opens up the next element on the page, because each subject line is followed by a hidden div. So you don't really have to target what the div's name is. You can just say next, and it'll open up the next element on the page. Slide it down. So that's what that's for. Now this one is almost self-explanatory. This is where we mark messages as read. So in the database we update the field, and I'll show you the script. So here we're posting to a script that's in the scripts for profile folder, and it's called markasread.php. Let me show you that real quick. And then you can see there's a couple of variables getting sent to that script. Message ID for this unique messages ID, and then owner ID, whoever owns the message, the person that received it. And here's mark as read. What happens here is we require once the connect to MySQL, because we're going to be working and updating the database within this script. We grab those two variables that are being posted from that JavaScript, from that jQuery Ajax mechanism, message ID and owner ID. And we're stripping everything but numbers from it. Then we decode the session IDX variable again on this script to make sure that the owner ID matches the decrypted session ID. So right here is that condition. If owner ID does not equal my ID, then we exit, because there's either malicious activity going on or the user's session has expired from inactivity on the site. And by the way, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but you can up your session limit max time in your php.ini file. If you feel like people are getting sessioned out early, or they are complaining about losing their session, or the session expiring quickly while they're navigating your pages, you can up your session max time limit in your php.ini file. So that if the owner ID does not equal my ID, we exit. But if it does and everything's cool, we're going to update private messages set opened to 1, where ID equals message ID. This message ID. Limit 1. That way this query knows it's only going to run one update on one row. Open gets equal to 1. That way we know, and our system is aware, that this person has read that message. They clicked the subject line, the message opened up, they saw it. That's how mark as read works. And mark as read, like I said, is living in the scripts for profile folder, markasread.php. That's how we refer to it. Now when that gets finished happening, it automatically, right here, this line makes the subject line not bold anymore. It gives it the message read class. And I'll show you the two classes here for that. There's message read and message default. You see it's bold by default. Message read makes it a light font weight, so it's not bold, and it really gives it a nice light gray. So that's what that line does right there. It just changes the class without the page having to refresh and everything. We're using jQuery actually. jQuery's add class function there. And we're targeting the message ID using subject underscore line underscore plus message ID. You can see each one in the loop right here. Mark as read function right here. You see? ID equals, and each one will be unique. Subject underscore line underscore whatever number this row ID is. So each one will have a unique ID that we can target using jQuery here. So that's what this line does. And that's everything for the mark as read function. Now, toggle reply box. What's happening here is we're having to open up the reply box using jQuery. We show it. Then we're throwing values into hidden input fields within that form. Then, once they press submit, we process the reply right here. And in this function, what's happening is the same thing that's happening in the profile.php page where we're initially sending the private message. So I'm not going to explain this at all because it's the same exact thing. I already explained that pretty in depth, so I'm not going to go over it again. And that seals up the JavaScript. That's all you need. So basically all this script needs for refinement is a little bit of pagination, and it's beautiful. You can see that it has all the functionality that somebody would need for a nice inbox system. But that wraps up the private messaging system. I'm done. That page was very difficult to code. So now I'm going to package everything up, change the numbers on the version and all the source files. I'm going to test everything out on a new fresh install on a brand new hosting account that I bought for testing. So once I see that the system is running well, like I was somebody who downloaded it and never used it before, I can install it, everything works, all my member functions work all throughout the site. I'm going to release version 1.33, which will have a whole bunch of things that we've added throughout the last 5 or 6, 7 or 8 tutorials into the Web Intersect system. The private messaging system, the maps, the Twitter thing, all of that code that you guys have been watching me build into the system will be in place in version 1.33 and should be there today sometime. Hopefully on the download page sometime later today you'll see Web Intersect version 1.33. And we've also fixed the session register deprecation issue. Alright, that should keep you guys busy for a while, and I'll talk to you next lesson.